Purple Yellow Croc got some new tools in OP12, so I've decided to revisit a classic style Baroque Works engine deck running some of the new cards. So let's get right into this deck list. Starting with the leader, if you forget what this does, when you return a Dawn to your Dawn deck on your opponent's turn, it allows you to add a Dawn as active. So this can be combined with some effects on the cards, which we'll get to later. Start off with our Baroque Works Searcher, Miss Valentine. It's a 2-cost top 5 Searcher, which has the added ability of being able to be played from life via this trigger effect, which is Dawn -1 for the effect, but when combined with the leader effect, that's effectively free since we're getting the Dawn back anyway. So that's kind of seeing how this leader works with some of the cards in this deck. It's a bit unfortunate that this is a 2-cost card instead of a 1-cost card, but the trigger can come up sometimes and help you find what you need later on in the game. Next, we have our 4 searchable ramp cards right here, starting off with probably the most important one, which is the 3-cost Miss Wednesday. It's a blocker that also has the on opponent's attack effect of Dawn -1 to add a Dawn. This triggers our leader effect to then add an additional Dawn, hence us netting 1 Dawn and thus 4 ramping. We then have the 4-cost Mr. 2, which just straight up adds a Dawn from our Dawn deck as active and has a pretty versatile when attacking effect. So this is a very good card. You see this in pretty much every purple deck, but it's very nice in this deck because it's searchable. So we're going to see this a little bit more consistently. We then have our 2k counter, Miss Doublefinger. Usually you won't be playing this since you do have to trash a card to get the ramp effect, but if you don't see your other ramp cards, it may be necessary to play this out, and it helps you ramp a little bit more consistently. And then last but not least, we have the 5-cost Miss All Sunday. This card is a bit unfortunate as it doesn't have any counter, but it does draw you a card in addition to ramping the Dawn, so this can be very nice to play out on curve if you have the opportunity to do that. Now let's move on to some of our late game. We have, this is a new card now, the 6-cost Crocodile. I said late game, but actually this card's a little bit more of a mid-game tool, which is good because an issue in a lot of older Purple Yellow Croc lists running this engine is that he doesn't really have a lot of mid-game. It's very awkward going from like 5 Dawn to then 8 Dawn to the part where you can start playing out some of your big bodies, which we'll get into later. This card helps you by giving you a 6-cost card, which gives you some defensive utility. So if you read the effect on your opponent's attack, you may Dawn -1 and then gain 2k counter for either your character or leader. So this effectively with your leader effect is giving you a free 2k every turn, which can be very strong. And yeah, this card just helps you stabilize in the mid game a lot more consistently. I do wish that this was a 1k counter though, because this deck can be a little bit bricky, but we do have quite a bit of ways to trash cards in our hand or cycle cards, so it's not the end of the world. I just think this card would have been stronger if they made it a 6-cost 1k counter with 7,000 power, but that's just my opinion. We'll move on then. This card, the 8-cost Croc, this has been a staple in the list since it came out. On play, Dawn -2, heal 1 life, and then it has an on opponent's attack effect where we get the Dawn -1 to cycle a card. This is what I was talking about with our card cycle options that we get. With our leader effect, it's free, the Dawn -, we get the Dawn back, so it's fine. Which also lets us stand up a Dawn and use this event, which we'll talk about later. Same thing applies to this card, I just forgot to say it, but you typically see it more with this card since this will stick on the board a little bit longer as it is a bigger body. The heal is very nice, but it is Dawn -2, so typically you want to play this card out on a 10 Dawn turn, where you're going to be going to 10 Dawn no matter what, even if you deramp 2. Because if you play this out on 8 and then you go to 8 next turn, you won't be able to play some of your bigger characters, so it can be a bit unfortunate. But we have enough ramp to get the 10 Dawn pretty quickly, so it's not that big of a downside. Next we have the 9-cost Linlin, another generic purple staple, Dawn -1, trash a card from your hand, heal 1 life, and then place one of your opponent's 6-cost or less characters on the top or bottom of their life. So very powerful, allowing us to trash a brick from our hand, heal a life, and then remove something from the board. Super strong late game card, really lets us stabilize. Very good in this deck. And last for our late game cards, we have the 10-cost Ace. I don't see everyone run this card in this list. Like this 8-cost Croc and this 9-cost Linlin, pretty much every list is going to be running these. This card's a little bit more, only some people run it. I'm a fan of it because you can consistently heal off of it, gives you a healing effect every time, and if you have a low enough life, it gains Rush, which can allow you push for a life advantage, which will help you go for game earlier than you may have been able to. because despite this deck's high survivability, sometimes you're in situations where you just got to push for life with all your bodies on board, and this really helps you do that. And I think more importantly, it kind of helps you control the board because you can use the rush to attack into a big body on your opponent's board, and that really helps you stabilize if you can get a playoff like that. And worst case scenario, if you're in the late game, you just need to establish something and heal, you can just play this, heal a life, and not even rush and swing into anything. That's a perfectly valid play, and I just see this come up a lot, but only a 3 of, don't need it at 4 because you're probably not going to be playing this out every game, but it's very helpful in most situations, I think so. Now let's finish up our 2k counters. We are running 10 2k counters. We already discussed the 4 double fingers over here, but then we have 4 beige. With all the healing we're doing in this deck, this comes up more than it usually would, and as you may know, this card has a very powerful defensive trigger effect, and all our healing lets it see it more often, so it is pretty nice in this deck. And then I'm running 2 of the Hiyori 2k counters, allows us to put something from our hand on our life. We do run quite a few decent triggers in this deck, something like card draw with this will come my way, or playing a body with this, or ramping with this. So we can play this on turn 1 going second to let us ramp or draw cards, but it doesn't come up all the time. It is just a 2k counter, and we're only running 2 of them. Now next, we have 2 pretty unique healing options here with Kikunojo and Kuma. So first with this one, on KO, if your opponent's life is 3 or less, you get to heal a life. This synergizes very good with this card, which we'll talk about in a second, so I'll just move on to the Kuma for now, which has that same effect of allowing us to heal on KO, which is very nice, but also it has the on-play effect of trashing a card from our hand and then healing a life. It also goes up to 8 cost when you do that on-play effect, so this can just help this body stick after the turn it's played. But even if it didn't have that, man, I mean, this thing just gets value as soon as you play it. I mean, you're healing, and if they remove it with something that isn't like bottom deck removal or some kind of removal that gets around on KO effects, you're going to be healing 2 life with this card, which is just insane for this deck. It lets us have insane survivability. But probably the card that gives us the most survivability in this deck is this Oh Come My Way. This event lets you rest a Dawn, then Dawn -1, and you get to redirect any attack to any character on your board. Super strong effect. Lets you redirect into these 2 bodies to then heal a life off of a swing that may have destroyed something on your board or have even lost you the game. So this card, insane, game winning almost every time that you play it, really high value, and it's probably the #1 reason that this deck is known for just having insane survivability. So now that we've covered all the cards in this list, let's just move on right into the games, and then after that I'll discuss a little bit more about some of the cards and if I would maybe make some changes to this deck or change up some ratios. Alright, here we have our first game against Red-Black Garp. Not one of the most meta-defining leaders ever, but we do have some better meta matchups coming up later. I believe we have this game to look at, then a game of Blue-Purple Sanji, and then 2 games against Green Zoro, and that Green Zoro is definitely a meta contender right now. Let me rewind a little bit. Let's go back to what just happened there. So we started up with this hand, and we drew into a turn 1 play with the Hiyori here. You're going to see I'm going to do something I talked about, going to add a Miss Double Finger to the top of my life. So now when he swings in for this turn, we're going to be able to play it with the trigger effect and a ramp a Dawn. Now that is a pretty card exhaustive play. We did use the Hiyori 2k counter, and now we're trashing a card just to get this 1 ramp, but it is a strong play. It's going to let us double ramp here because we have the Mr. 2 Bond Clay, and then we're going to be able to play out some of our late game a bit earlier. Right now Garp is doing some pretty basic stuff. He's just setting up his 2-cost Garp. It's going to let him start removing our bodies. And right here, I guess I'm just thinking how I want to swing this. Okay, looks like we're going to go 5-6. It's good to swing with the Miss Double Finger now, just to get value. It's probably going to get removed next turn. So, just trying to get a card out of his hand here. And then it's very likely he'll just take the 6k swing. He is thinking about it though. So, it's going to take him a bit to decide if he wants to counter out of this one. But we also have that new 6-cost Crocodile in our hand, which we may be able to play out the next turn and then put ourselves in a pretty good situation to play out that 8-cost Crocodile at 10 Dawn. Alright, so there we just ramped, he took a life, and he countered out of the 5k with a 1k Laboon. Very interesting, he's running the cost reduction Laboon here. He already gets so much cost reduction from his leader effect. Okay, he's going to play out the stage. And then when he puts the 2 down there, yep, that's going to minus 2 cost. Now he's going to get rid of that, probably swing into the Miss Double Finger here. Yep, strong play from our opponent, but luckily for us, we're not too concerned with keeping our small bodies on board. We're just trying to ramp up to our bigger characters. He's going to swing. We're going to take... This is also something I should mention if you're interested in trying out this list for yourself, is as Purple Yellow Croc, because we're going to be healing so much in the late game, you want to really take those early hits very aggressively so we can cycle through our triggers and cycle through our life more efficiently. Okay. Okay, there did not play out the Miss Double Finger. I've probably decided that I don't want to take the risk of whiffing the search or just getting another late game body, and I'd rather just keep the 1k counter. Alright, swing into that so we can't remove our next thing, and then play out a 6-cost body. Now, something that leads to inconsistency in Purple Yellow Croc is the fact that our 6-cost Crocodile and our 8-cost Crocodile, they're very powerful on opponents' attack effects, cannot come up every turn if they're going to remove the body. So right here, it looks like he's setting up some removal. This card, this KO is a 1-cost. Oh, but he has a sewer. I was going to say, I didn't quite check out there, but nope, he got it. And because he removed it before he attacked, we didn't even get to use the effect. So pretty unfortunate here. Probably going to take this. Did get a lucky trigger. Always something. If you played any yellow deck before, you know, sometimes you just get lucky with the trigger. It's the way it is. It's going to be very nice here because he only has 4 cards in hand, and we're probably going to be able to threaten that Garp. Oh, but you know, I was wondering why we didn't swing into it. We're probably going to play out the 9-cost Linlin here. Heal a life, remove that body. It is going to heal him, but kind of similar to an L, we don't mind healing our opponent since we're kind of playing for the late game. We're trying to reduce their board and reduce their hand size to nothing and then swing in big later once they have no resources. So it's usually the right play to just put things into life pretty haphazardly and not think about it too much. Of course, there's situations where you don't want to do it, but here's probably a good one. Looks like we did get a 2k, so even though we swung twice at his life, he's still at 4 cards in hand. And we are looking to be in a pretty good situation right here. He has very little on his board, and we have a 6k and a 9k body, and we're at 2 life. If you look at our hand as well, we have an "Oh Come My Way," and we have a heal we're going to be playing out next turn, so we are definitely very safe here. Alright, looks like he is going to try to get rid of the 9-cost Linlin here with a Helmeppo. And if he has any kind of removal in his hand, yep, he's just going to be able to minus cost like that. Play out a Brook, okay. Very powerful. That's why Garp, not the most consistent deck, but he can very consistently remove big bodies if he pulls right. He just gets so much cost reduction with his leader effect sometimes. Here, contemplating to use this. Gonna not take it. I'm not sure if that was the right play there. Probably could have taken that. Maybe drawn into a 2k or some more heal, but I guess we don't need it since we drew that 9-cost Linlin. Okay, we are going to swing 5. I do wonder if we play the 9-cost Linlin. I think it's probably the better play to play the 9-cost Linlin as opposed to the 8-cost Croc, because then we can remove the Brook from his board. And especially after he just countered out like that. He's probably going to take this next hit though, but he only has 3 cards in hand. So it is unlikely that he has more removal, since it does seem like this guy is running some cost reduction as well. I don't know about that. I don't really play Red Black Garp, but I would always think you don't really need to run that much dedicated cards for cost reduction since you already get so much via your leader effect, but I guess it is more efficient to have bodies that do it for you. It's interesting. If anyone plays Red Black Garp, let me know in the comment section what you think about that, because I think I'm a little bit split on that deck building decision there, but this isn't about Garp. I'm trying to talk about Crocodile here, so let's get back on focus. But something interesting I noticed here is I did not leave a Donna up for a Come My Way. Usually once you're playing out your big bodies in the late game, you just want to leave that Dawn up just in case, but we were at 2 life there. As far as I'm aware, Garp is not a deck that plays a lot of rushers, and he didn't really have a board, so I guess we weren't feeling very threatened there. He did remove the Kikunojo. Oh, and we got another one from life. Look, man, sometimes it happens when you're playing yellow, you just get lucky. It's part of the game. It may frustrate us if we're going against it, but it's very funny when it happens in your benefit, let me tell you that. Alright, he only has 2 cards in hand. Swinging 10 here seems like a pretty safe play. If he has it, it's going to completely wipe out his hand, and then we just be able to easily remove it. So he's just going to take it. Probably the right play here. He does have a good amount of life, so he's probably looking to take. Yep, taking a 5k swing, though, is pretty scary for him. He's going to go down to 1 here, that means. And we're healing. We're at 3 life. And we didn't leave a Dawn up that turn, but when you play out the 8-cost Crocodile, here's a way that it pairs really well with the Come My Way. When you use your leader effect after a Dawn -1ing with the 8-cost Croc to get the card cycle, you return the Dawn as active. So that means that you're going to have 1 Dawn stood up for the Come My Way after using the Crocodile. Now naturally he could remove it, which he might be doing here. Let me see, he has 5 Dawn. He is able to if he just attaches all that Dawn and then he rests that. Yep, that looks like what he's going to do. And he has 6. I guess he'll swing 11 into Lin. We do have the counter for that. Since we can push for a game next turn, it's probably the right play to counter out. Yep, so he's going to remove that. We are going to take, and yeah, we have plenty of counter. We can get out of this pretty easily, and it's probably game over next turn. He's swinging into our board here. It does hurt him to heal us a little bit, but yeah, he's just looking to get rid of board here. So that was actually a good play from our opponent to swing there instead of swinging at the Lin, because we definitely would have just countered out of that. Either way, though, he's at 2 life, and we could just go for it. However, I don't believe I actually swing for lethal here, because remember, this deck thrives in the late game. You're not really in a rush to win the game. There's certain matchups where that's the case. I feel like Green Zoro's that way, but we'll talk more about it in that game. But we're not really feeling threatened here, so we can just kind of take it slow, swing at his board, deplete his resources, and just keep healing. Yep, we're going to go 9 here. He's going to need 2 2Ks. Very unlikely he has that. And then we have 6 Dawn. Looks like we're going to play out the Kuma here. Yep. I was hovering over the Akuma way. I'm checking my trash to see. I don't have any in there, so I'm like, oh, I could draw into another one if need be, but it's very unlikely that's going to be the case. We are at 4 life here. We've healed back to full, effectively. I mean, there's just so much healing in this deck. Like, every turn in the late game, you're healing a life minimum. It's ridiculous sometimes. Especially with this Kuma, just lets us do it so much more consistently, having another heal option, especially for only 6. Very strong card. Probably going to be starting to be used in every yellow deck, honestly. Sucks, man, because that card's expensive, and I want it for my purple yellow croc list, but I'm not trying to pay $30 for a card right now. But it is what it is. Hopefully it goes down. But that's besides the point. He's going to remove the Kuma here. He was probably able to... Oh, you know, he might... No, because he already put all the minus costs on there. Yeah, he's just going to go for the Kuma. He probably could have got the Big Mom, but maybe he's going to swing big into it. Yeah, he's upping the attack. He honestly maybe should have put more Dawn on that, but we do have 3 2Ks and a 1K in hand. I don't think he could have got that. Because I'll tell you what, I would have dumped my whole hand to save that Lin here, because now, this next turn, unless he plays out some kind of blocker, we're going for game, let me tell you that much. Here he might swing 9 at Lin. It's not really going to do anything for him to swing at life, but it's pretty much game over here. It's only place to swing 9 at Lin and hope that he can somehow get back into this, but it's very unlikely. I mean, look at our life advantage, man. We're at 5 life. We've healed beyond what we started with at this point. So yeah, he is going to swing there. We're just going to trash a card, and this is very likely GG's here. Only has 3 cards. This is probably guaranteed. If we swing 11, he wouldn't be able to get out of it, because he could, at most, have 6,000 power of counter in his hand. Yep, so it looks like we're going to do that, and then everything on leader, that's going to clear that up. Pretty simple game. We just played out heal every turn, and we swung into his board, and we just kind of outlasted him. I think this match showed what Purple Yellow Croc is strong at, which is just winning the resource game, where when you're healing very often, that's more cards you're drawing every time they swing into you. You can kind of think of heal as a very convoluted form of card draw and cycle, but by doing that and just swinging at our opponent's board and removing their bodies and just healing every turn, we can just kind of outlast decks like this that are just trying to remove, because they're spending so many resources to remove our bodies and we're just surviving. and playing out more. So we can just kind of outlast decks like this, and that's shown pretty well by this game. And now let's move on to the next one. All right, we have our second game here against Blue-Purple Sanji. Now, if you know anything about that leader, he's also very good at just surviving. But he does it maybe not more consistently than this deck, but definitely using more consistent cards like Gum Gum Giant. I mean, Jesus, if you guys have been playing that game for the past few sets, you know that card is a defensive monster. That just lets you survive in positions where you definitely should not. Kind of similar to a Come My Way, but a little less fun in my opinion. I mean, a Come My Way is funny. You redirect the attack, you heal. It's hilarious. But anyway, here, probably just gonna swing 6 and search. Yep. You don't usually get a turn 1 play in this deck, especially going first. You have no turn 1 plays, but we do have a few going second. We have the Hiyori and we have the Searcher, so that's, I think, 6 cards in our deck that can be played on turn 1. But a lot of the time you're not going to be drawing into it, so don't expect to have a strong start with this deck. But I think this game and the last game, we got our Searcher, so very nice. It's going to allow us to be much more consistent throughout this game, but you're not always going to see that Searcher, so it is what it is. Alright, so he's playing out the 3-cost Sanji. Standard stuff, that's going to be a body that's going to be sticking for the rest of the game, let me tell you, because that card has a very strong removal protection effect. So now he's playing out his events, he's drawing cards. We're very lucky he took that last hit, because now we get to play the Kikunojo off of life. Very sad for our opponent here. I mean, this is the what, 2 games in, and we've seen 3 Kikus in life. Oh my goodness. Look, man, it happens. It's the way it is playing yellow. So yep, just swing 6. Let's see here. Probably going to play at the Bon Clay here, then swing 7. He took the 6. Wow, so I don't know if he wants to go down to 1. He's probably going to counter out of the 7, which is going to hurt him, but he's still at 6 cards in hand after this. Oh, wow. Here I am reading the card. I'm thinking, what's happening? Why didn't he get 4K? Let's go back to that. That was unfortunate for our opponent. But hey, you know, this leader, at least over here in the West, this just came out. So, you know, everyone's still learning how to do it and whatnot. But it's a bit tragic when stuff like this happens. Let's read this. Yeah, so this card has an activate main of being able to draw a card. But if you have 4 or more events in your trash, you can use this as a 4K counter for 1 Dawn, which is very strong. But you can see here, he only has 3 cards in his trash, let alone events. So he didn't get any of the counter for this. He just trashed this card, which is very unfortunate. So I wonder here, is he going to just take anyway, or is he going to get out? Let's see. Wow, he takes. I mean, this leader has a lot of defensive options, but I don't know, going down to 1 life this early is pretty scary. I don't know if I would have done that. I think I would have just trashed more cards from hand. Because he has ways of accruing card advantage, but life, you know, he has no way of healing. Most decks don't, but, you know, going down to 1 pretty early is kind of crazy. Especially, we do have 2 significant attacks on our board here. And in order for those Sanjis to become 6Ks where he can start swinging at our Kiku, he's going to need to fill up his trash a bit more. So let's see if he's able to do that here. But I don't know. Oh, he did play. There you go, let's pause right here. The Gum Gum Jet Culverin. Pretty strong removal event. Bottom deck's a 4-cost. That bottom decking effect is going to get around the Kikunojo's on play, or not on play, sorry, on KO effect of healing us 1. So we're not going to be able to heal from that. He's going to get the 6K off the board. Very good play from our opponent. If he has another one, he could board wipe us here, but this Bon Clay isn't super threatening since this copies the attack power of whatever's on his board, and he only has 5K, so this is just a 5K swing at the moment. So he might not really care about that, but he has 3 Dawn up. Can pretty much play anything. Most of his events are 3-cost or under. But anyway, looking at our hand here, we are approaching, how much? We're approaching 8 Dawn, and we don't really have anything to play. I guess we do have the Kuma. Kuma's probably going to be what we play. Okay, we do get another trigger. I mean, wow, we're getting lucky with these triggers, man. But then again, this deck runs a lot of triggers. Even a lot of the purple cards in this deck have triggers, so it's not just the yellow stuff. So there's not really any counter we can grab from that. All we can really get is the Come My Way or the 6-cost Crocodile. So it looks like I'm thinking about this. I'd probably take the 6-cost Crocodile because I'm not super interested in playing out the Kuma here. Going down the card, we don't really need to heal because once we swing that Bon Clay, he's probably going to swing into that. Oh, but he has the Searcher on board. You know, maybe it would be the right play. We're going to grab the 6-cost Crocodile. Looks like that's what we're going to be playing out this turn. So probably going to go 5-7 here and then play out the 6-cost Croc. Now, I am new to using that card since this was the first deck I built with it, so maybe what I'm thinking here with that 6-cost Crocodile is like, okay, I could play out the Kuma to heal, but I can do that whenever. The earlier I get the 6-cost Crocodile down, the more value it's going to accrue over the game because I'm getting that free 2k counter every turn. So maybe that's something to consider. I don't know if that's correct, but it's definitely something to consider. Now, he has 3 Dawn up here. It's very unlikely the 7k is going to go through. So I'm keeping a Dawn. Oh, I see what I'm doing. I'm keeping a Dawn up for the You'll Come My Way. I didn't really need to do that, though, because as I showed last game with the 8-cost Crocodile, if you have one of these... Oh, never... Okay, well, what I was going to say is when you have one of those characters on the board, the 6-cost Croc or the 8-cost Croc, you can use their effect to effectively stand up one of your Dawn and then activate your You'll Come My Way. But if they remove it, then you're not going to get that, and that can be pretty dangerous. I was about to say that Sanji doesn't tend to run any big removal, he just runs the small removal, but that was just completely wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. He definitely runs Red Rock. I mean, it's searchable, it's an all-around great blue card, very strong into some of the meta decks right now, so I was just completely wrong about that, and hey, you know what, you proved me wrong, so I'm glad that happened, or I was just going to spread some misinformation about this deck there. But yeah, no, so I actually made the right play keeping the Dawn up, because I am a bit scared of him rushing me down here, because he does have 3 significant attacks coming in this turn. He's going to swing at the Bonclave with the Searcher. We're just going to take that, and now we're going to brace for impact here with these swings. Now I'm thinking I don't really want to get rid of this 1k because it's going to heal me later, but we do have the 9-cost Bomb. He's not going to swing with his bodies. Now, you'll see Sanjis do that a lot where they'll play out these 3-cost Sanjis early on, and then they're not swinging with them until they're bigger bodies, but I don't know. He's kind of on a clock here at 1 life. I don't know what his hand looks like, so maybe he could have a lot of defensive events, and he doesn't feel too threatened right now, especially since we don't really have anything on the board. But I think even more so, because we don't have anything on the board, he really should have swung with those Sanjis, just to pressure our life more. That would have got all our counter out of hand, just swinging 6-6 there. But I don't know. That was probably not the right play, but we'll see what he does here. He's going to get rid of the Searcher. Yeah, he's not going to defend that. Probably looking out to play a 9-cost Mom here. Now, it is a bit unfortunate that, as I mentioned, those 3-cost Sanjis, they do have removal protection, so we're not going to be able to put them in his life, but we are going to be able to heal, get rid of a brick in our hand. And, well, let me count how much Dawn he's at. He has an 8 Dawn. So by forcing him to go back a Dawn, because in order to protect his Sanji, the removal protection, there's a cost to it. He has to go Dawn -1. So by doing this, we are forcing him to be not on 10 Dawn. But that usually doesn't affect Sanji too much. He doesn't really have any huge cards he plays. So that shouldn't be a big deal for our opponent. That's why he's definitely just going to Dawn -1. He's playing out our 3rd Sanji. I mean, he's got an army on board. I mean, this blue-purple Sanji deck is so funny. It's like 90% events, and he runs like 2 characters, but they're pretty strong. I mean, they don't get removed very easily. Oh, this guy is running this. I haven't seen too many people run this card, but I think it's a good addition to the deck. Lets him cycle out his events. Now, he's not going to go life here. So it looks like he's trying to do a similar game plan to what we're doing here, where he's just going to try to not give us card draw by swinging into our life and just kind of accumulate the very wide board. But we do have another 9-cost Mom. We are going to be able to put that Rosinante in his life. So, and we're going to be at 4 life after that too, so we're not feeling threatened here. Oh, he minused. Let's go back. Because if you play purple, this is an important card to consider. I've seen a lot of purple decks running this recently. Likely as a counter to Green Zoro, if I had to guess. I was gonna say I don't know why the video wasn't going there. This card, do I hover over it? Yes. Hell's Judgment. It's a 2-cost counter event. Lets you Dawn -1, and then you can give 2 things on your opponent's field -3,000 power for the turn. So in the case of Green Zoro, for example, if you use this event the first time he swings at you, you'll be able to -3,000 him, and that'll last for the turn. So if he restands the leader and swings again, he still has -3,000 power. So very important card to consider in this meta. And it's going to come up here, it's going to get him out of that swing, and then it's going to make this very easy to get out of. So he's very likely just going to 2k counter. He is going to Gum Gum Giant. That's probably good for us here, getting the Giant out here with just a 6k swing. But if he didn't have the Hell's Judgment there, he would have had to give an additional card to that, because that would have been, he would have been at 9,000 after that, and it would have been a 9k swing, so we'd have to give another card. So that was a very good play by our opponent. We are going to put that in life because we don't want him getting too much of a board. But yeah, now he's in a position, and this is why I do really think he should have swung with the Sanjis earlier, because now he's in a position where maybe you can argue he doesn't have to swing, because he doesn't want to just get his board removed, especially since I said this character, or this leader, doesn't run too many characters, so he has to be a little bit sparing with how he swings with them, because he doesn't want them getting removed here. But before we didn't have any bodies, he probably should have done it before. I'm pretty confident about that. But here, he might be able to afford to swing a little bit. We are at 3 life, and that may seem scary for our opponent, but you gotta swing life to win the game. If he just keeps letting us heal, we're just gonna outlast him, which looks like what's happening right now. Alright, so he played out the 6-cost Luffy, went up to 7k for the turn, and that's gonna be pretty annoying because it's gonna allow him to go up to 7k every turn that's on the board. But he does have 2 9k swings coming in here. We're probably going to play out the 8-cost Crocodile just to heal and then just swing 9. Yep. Taking it slow, no need to go super aggressive with swings, just get cards out of his hand, heal, the works. This is what this deck does, guys. Just plays out top end cards, heals, and just outlasts. That's what it does. Now, I was just talking about him maybe not wanting to swing with his board, but he's definitely going to want to swing with that 6-cost Luffy, because that's going to let him go up to 7,000 power again, which he's probably going to need here if he wants to survive all these 9k swings. Now, if I was him, yep, definitely needs to start swinging at board. So here, I'm going to take the free card cycle. Probably get rid of the Kikonojo here. Yep. And I'd be thinking now, we do only have 2k, so he could swing 9-9, and he'd be able to get stuff, but I don't know if it was right to counter out of that, yeah, because now he's going to go 9. And he's going to be able to go 9 with his leader as well, because it goes up to 7,000 because of that. So we're going to take that one, see where he swings with this 9k. He's not going to swing 9k. Oh, because he needs to keep Dawn up so he can survive here. Never mind. I don't know what I was saying. Yeah. So yeah, probably a misplay to counter out like we did, but we are still in a very powerful position here. We still have more top end in hand, so no need to go for game. We're just going to swing at this Luffy. If we can get this off the board this turn, then he's not going to be at 7k next turn, and then we're going to be able to much more easily go for lethal. So he couldn't even get out of the 7k. Wow, not even a 1k in hand that he wanted to spend on that. So now we're just going to go life, because I'm like, yeah, he doesn't have that much counter. We're just going to get all these events out of his hand. He's only at 3 cards. He just used a, I don't know how to say it. It's like Concasser, the 1-cost 4k event that I just talked about. He's going to have to use another Gum Gum Giant. And there, he was at 7 Dawn that last turn, because he's been using these Gum Gum Giants, and he's been protecting his Sanji. And he's been using a bunch of Dawn minus effects, so now it's actually kind of coming back to bite him in the butt a little bit here, because now he only has 7 Dawn for this turn, so he's not going to be able to swing very big at our bodies here. That being said, his Sanjis are 8Ks now, but he hasn't really been swinging with them. I don't know if that's a... Part of me wants to say that he's been kind of not doing that correctly. I feel like he should be swinging more, but then again, I'm not too sure. If you're a blue-purple Sanji player, let me know what you think about that, because I'm not sure. What did he bottom deck? So he bottom decked our Searcher. I don't know if that was necessary, but he's gonna do it. Yeah, you can see I'm kind of hovering over. I'm like, what did he just get rid of? So he does have the 3 Dawn. He could go 9k a bunch of times, but now we've drawn a bit more cards. We do have enough to protect our board here if he just swings 9 at everything. Even better, we are going to get some card cycle. Probably going to get rid of the Okam My Way, especially if I get another counter. And yep. Oh, I didn't actually use the card cycle effect. Probably because I'm waiting to see how he swings here. Okay, yep, so we're just going to get more counter. Definitely just gonna take that hit. So now he's going all in at life, but I have bad news for our opponent. I think it's a bit late to be doing that. If he can't play anything more defensive this turn, we're just gonna likely run him over. I mean, we got 3 9Ks on the board. We got a ton of cards in hand. It looks like there's no hope for him. I'm not even going to attach it on to swing here because even if he somehow lives, we're going to play out that 10 cost ace, we're going to heal, we're going to rush in, but there's no way he gets out of this here. Well, now that he played Hell's Judgment, it's no longer 3 9s, it's going to be 2 6s, a 9, and then a 10 from the ace, but he only has 2 cards in hand, 1 Dawn up. This is GG's, guys. This is the perfect situation you want to be in with this deck. Just all your late game, you've been healing the whole game, you have a ton of cards. Ideal situation for any deck, honestly, but with PY Croc, he gets you there. He gets you there via healing, stalling the game, and overall being pretty annoying. You just kind of survive. So yep, he doesn't have the counter there, and that's going to be GG's for that guy. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the next one. Alright, next we have this game against Green Zoro. Definitely a more meta-defining leader. Some would argue best deck in format. I don't know if I would go that far, but it's definitely close, I'll tell you that much. So this game's definitely going to be pretty meaningful to how well Purple Yellow Croc's going to do in this meta. And guys, look at our hand. Oh my goodness, and drawing into the 4th one, we've seen all of our Come My Ways now. So, not ideal, but it's very funny. And we get a turn 1 play with the Searcher, very nice here. I would probably grab a 2k here since we're pretty bricked. I'm thinking about it. Okay, so we do grab the blocker. We'll have to see how that plays out because blockers are a little weaker into Green Zoro because he has so many ways to rest down your blocker and then just swing into them and then still be able to swing life because of his leader effect. So you're not really getting the blocker value. But what is nice about those Miss Wednesdays, and maybe the reason I took it, is because the biggest weakness to that card is them being removed before your opponent attacks, because then you don't get the ramp. But Green Zoro doesn't really run typical removal. The way he removes stuff is by resting it and then swinging into it. So we may not get the blocker value from those Miss Wednesdays, but we're definitely going to be able to get the value of the ramp. So we're probably going to play one out here, play one out next turn, and we're going to be able to double ramp, which is pretty nice going second. So yep, standard Green Zoro stuff. Going to play out the TCG, rest our body. We're going to ramp, and then we're probably going to take this 8k swing to life, definitely. Okay, so there is consideration to play out that 6 cost Crocodile. Now that Tashigi, if he has another one, it does rest down as 6 cost character, so we may need to be careful if we're going to play that out. But then again, it does effectively come with a free 2k counter, so maybe it's not the worst play, but I'm trying to remember. I think in this game, spoiler warning for like 2 seconds from now, I think he does have a Tashigi in his hand. And yeah, he's going to be able to swing 10 into that. So we are going to get a 2k. So I'm thinking, probably going to do it. Yeah, protecting this body is probably worth it, especially now that he's used 2 of his things that rest 6 costs. So we're going to get rid of that blocker, yep. Keep the Kuma for the heal, we're probably going to need that. Now taking the 7 is a bit sad here. I'm considering I'll come my way out of it, but we're not going to do that because we already used a Dawn -1 with the 6 cost Crocodile. Oh, and he didn't swing with leader. Wow, so we're at 0 here, guys. Okay, this is not the ideal situation, but you know, we have a Kikunojo, we have a 6 cost Kuma, we have 4 Hook on my way, so we have quite a good amount of ways to heal. Now something to consider though is Green Zoro does have quite a bit of counterplay towards the strategy. He has ways to rest down Dawn, our Dawn, on his turn. So if we just play something and then pass with 1 Dawn up, he could play like a Hody Jones or a Dead Man's Game, and then we're pretty much just going to lose here because we're effectively taking 2 extra swings that we wouldn't have had to take, because if we come my way into like a Kikunojo, that's getting out of the first hit by redirecting it, and then getting out of another hit, theoretically, because we're healing 1 life. So here we're going to swing, and we're going to play out the 6 cost Kuma, leaving no Dawn up, hoping that that Crocodile survives, and that we're going to be able to use its effect to stand up a Dawn, and use an Come My Way if need be. Probably going to have to resort to that. We don't exactly have a lot of counter in our hand, and honestly, even if it comes down to using all the counter in our hand, I may not want to get rid of that 1k Kuma there, because being able to heal, and because we have all the Come My Ways we need to get that second heal guaranteed off of it, so I'm thinking of countering out here. Let's see, he has 3 Dawn up, so he can use the event to restand his leader, but he's probably going to go for game here. I hate to say it, guys, but these Green Zoro players, they kind of all play the same. I mean, let me know if you guys agree with that. But, you know, you play into them, and yeah, I mean, they're just going to load up everything. They're going to swing life. He's probably going to go for game here. He's not going to get it, I'll tell you that much. But... oh, wow. Wait, guys. Terrible things going on in this game. I forgot about this. Wow, and you can see I'm stunned. I haven't even reacted to this because I realized I forgot that I needed to use that 6-cost Crocodile's effect to restand the Dawn. Now I have no Dawn up. Now I can't come my way. So we just lose here. We don't have the counter for this. So huge, huge, huge blunder and misplay on my end. You can see here, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, wow. I don't have it. I can't believe I just did that. And we weren't that far off. That's kind of funny, but yep. If we had the Dawn up for the come my way there, we would have been able to survive because we would have healed one, and then he would have swung again because he would have restanded his leader with the 3-cost event. He might have not, actually. He probably would have. But if he did, we would have just taken the life. We would have been back down to 0, but we had Moro come my ways. We had a Kiku in hand. So we were probably going to go on living, but I wonder if we could have actually came back from that game. I'm not sure. Maybe if we had another Kuma, we could have. Oh, you know what? We did, but let me check if we did. I think we had another Kuma in hand. Yes, we did before we countered out at the end there. Okay, yeah, so we would have been able to play another Kuma the next turn, heal one, probably going to maybe not get that Tashigi, but we were going to threaten it. It would have been the same situation again. We would have lived, and then probably the turn after that, we would have been able to get rid of the Tashigi on board, and yeah, then we would have been able to go from there and probably maybe get back into that game. But yeah, let this game serve as a warning to all of you guys if you're playing this leader. Don't forget to stand up your Dawn like that, or you're just going to get run over like that. But let's move on to the next game, which is hopefully going to be a little bit less tragic. Alright, so here we have the last game. It's going to be another game against Green Zoro. If I remember correctly, this one does not end in tragedy like the last one did. We're going to mulligan here. When you're going first, I should have mentioned how you pick your turn and how you mulligan. You typically want to go second because this deck doesn't have the most consistent ramp, but usually you're able to double ramp, so it can be good. It lets you hit 10, turn faster if you can get 2 ramps off. And we do have no turn 1 plays going first, but we have multiple turn 1 plays going second. So definitely want to try to go second, but if you end up going first, you want to hard mulligan for that 3-cost Miss Wednesday because it's your only ramp option on your second turn. If you're not going to get that card in your starting hand, you pretty much have no plays for 2 turns, which can be way too slow. So you definitely want to make sure you go second, but if you don't get second, hard mulligan for the 3-cost card. Anyway, we're going to play out a search, swing 6. He's going to take, looks like he got a double Perona start, which is pretty good. He probably found some of the stuff he's going to need here, but I must say though, I don't really understand why this guy chose second. From my understanding, Green Zoro's better curves first because he gets to play out a Tashigi, but I don't know. Maybe he knew that our first, us going first is worse for us, so who knows what he was thinking here. He's going to play out the 4-cost Kuina just to get the Searcher. I don't know if that's worth it here because he could have very much have just swung at life and not played that card from hand because now he loses it. We're going to play out this Miss All Sunday. It's going to let us ramp, draw a card, get a body on board. And he doesn't have a Tashigi even. Wow. So looks like that Miss All Sunday is going to stay on the board because he's going to restand 2 Dawn, swing 8 again. Yep, we're just going to take all this early life aggressively. Don't want to run out of resources early on. Remember, you're playing the long game with Purple Yellow Croc. You want to build up resources and then outlive your opponent using them. So here, looks like I'm considering playing this. Now we are at 8. Let me make sure I can count. Yeah, 8. Okay, we are at 8 Dawn here. So ramping with the 5-cost is not really all that helpful for us, but I was considering doing it for the card draw. Sometimes you're in a situation where you need to do that, but we do have other options. We could play out an 8-cost Crocodile, but it can hurt a little bit to play that too early. You want to wait till you're at 10 usually so that the Dawn -2 doesn't hurt you as much, because right here then we would not be able to play anything other than another 8-cost Croc next turn. So okay, looks like we're going to put Dawn on our leader, so we're not playing an 8-cost. Looks like we're going to play a blocker and a Kikunojo, yep. We have the cards in hand. We can afford playing out 2 bodies in 1 turn, so it's not super problematic there. Now he is going to rest down our blocker with a Hody Jones. I guess he deemed that he had enough life to go for that there. Usually you don't see Hody until the very end of the game, but he's just going to play it out for tempo, what it looks like here. So, yep, going to be able to get our blocker. So he swung into the blocker. Let's discuss this. Oh, I went back way too far. Oh, sorry, skipped ahead a little too much. You guys got spoiled. So he swings into the blocker with the Cavendish here. Oh, you know what? No, okay, well, I'll say this. So he swung with the Cavendish first because he wanted to restand 2 Dawn, put 3 on his leader for his leader effect. He probably should have swung life with that, though. Because at 2 life here in this situation, we probably would have countered out. He would have got a counter, and then he could have put 3 Dawn on his leader to swing. You know what? Ignore what I'm saying. So he's doing this because the other option is to swing 6 at life, get a 2k out of hand, then swing 8 with the Zoro into it, restand because his leader effectively gets to swing into the board for free. But what he was thinking here is he's going to swing 8 at this Miss All Sunday, and that's very likely going to go through. We would need 2Ks for that. And here, this one's very likely to go through as well because we would have to give him 2 cards to get out of this. We're probably not going to do that. So he was thinking get this off the board and then swing 8 at the board at the Miss All Sunday, and then he gets 2 more 8s at life. So you know what? I think he did that the right way. I was being a little bit too skeptical there. I got ahead of myself there, so sorry, guys. I think I was mistaken. So I'm just going to take back my little false advice there. Yep, so he's going to swing 8 there. We're just going to take. Now we got 2 8Ks coming into life here. Now, we do have a Kikunojo on board, and it'll come my way. So we definitely can consider taking both life. Looks like we're going to do that. So we have a play line here where we play out the 9-cost Mom, keep a Dawn up for that Kikunojo, and we can effectively heal 2 on his next turn. So yep, we're going to swing 5, we're going to swing 6. And I'm just checking, see what he gave me, just a 2k, pretty standard. We're thinking about playing out the 9 Mom. You know what, I might not play the 9 Mom here, actually, because let me explain why. So, as I mentioned earlier, Green Zoro, he has ways to rest down Dawn. So if we just play out a 9 Mom and we keep that Dawn up, he could just play out another Hody or a Dead Man's Game, and then we're kind of screwed, you know what I mean? So if we play out this 8-cost Croc, we're going to have 2 Dawn up, which once again can be rested by Dead Man's Game and Hody Jones. But because of its effect, we get to restand a 3rd Dawn. And 3 Dawn, he doesn't have any way to deal with that, unless playing 2. But we could also sequence in a way where we don't use that effect to restand our Dawn until he's going for the game-winning play. And then we'll use the You'll Come My Way on the turn we get the Dawn so that he can't do anything about it. So he's going to be searching here. Yeah, he's not going all in yet. Sky understands that we do have the capability to live probably longer than we should here, so he's not going to go all in. Also going to be able to get that Dawn for free back with the Cavendish, actually, so maybe that was his line of thinking instead. Either way, good stuff. We see him draw the Dead Man's Game, looking at that. That's the card we're playing around, so now that we know he has it, we're going to have to play around that every turn. So it's going to hurt not being able to play out this 9 Mom here, because we definitely want to get rid of this Cavendish, but looks like that's not going to be happening anytime soon, because that Dead Man Game would be tragic. That would lose us the game if he plays that, so we have to be very careful here. We're going to 6k out of that 6. Probably the right play here. And now we have to worry about an 8 and an 8. We will be able to get out of that, very likely. Or not an 8, an 8 and then whatever he puts on his leader. Oh, and you know, he could also have the 3-cost event that restands, so we could be looking at 2 swings here, but if we come my way into the Kikunojo, we will be fine, so. Yep, so he's just going to swing. I'm wondering now, maybe he could have swung at the Kikunojo and then restanded his leader. I wonder if that would have been better for him, because that would have healed and then he would have been able to go. You know what, yeah, let's discuss that. I think that might have been a misplay on our opponent's end. So, or not a misplay, but maybe he just doesn't understand. Purple Yellow Croc is not the most prevalent deck in the game, so not everyone's anticipating the Come My Way and knows exactly how this works. So if he swung into our Kikunojo right here, it would have went 12, it would have went through. We're not getting out of that. And then we would have healed, and then he would have been able to restand his leader via his leader effect, swing 12 again, probably would have taken, and then he would have been able to restand his leader with the 3-Don he kept up for his event here. I guess we don't know what his hand looks like, but let's be honest. He has that 3-cost event. There's no other way you'd be doing this. And then he'd be swinging 12 at us with 0, and now we wouldn't have the Kikunojo to be able to Okome My Way and heal it. So we would have had to Okome My Way into our 9k body here, which would have been pretty bad for us because now we're going to be at 0 life with no board. And we would have still lived, but it would have been a much harder situation. So that being said, it's something to consider about the strength of this deck is, it's not exactly known very widely, the counterplay to it. So sometimes you're just going to get people like this in situations where there may have been a better way for them to go about it, but because they're kind of playing normally, they're not going to get the most optimal play line. So here, yep, we did the Okame My Way, played it into the Kikunojo, healed a life, and now we're back at 0. So now we do have a bunch of heal in our hand, and I'm really tempted to play the 9-cost Linlin here. I can feel it, but he has that Dead Man's Game. We can't risk him playing that. So it's very likely just going to be a Kuma here. Kuma's great because not only is it healing us this turn, but we're going to be able to Okome My Way into it to get another heal. So going to be getting us 2 life. Very valuable here. So here we're thinking, I think I realized I'm only at 9 Don this turn. So I don't think this changes much. Yeah, we're just thinking here. Probably going to swing into that Searcher. There's an argument to maybe go at life and try to get cards out of his hand, but if you think about it, that card sticking on board is going to let him get more cards because he's just going to be using it. So yeah, definitely the right play to get it. And we're just going to swing into the Cavendish here. He would have to give us 3 cards for this, so that would be pretty big, but he's probably just going to let it go through. Yep. And now it's probably going to be a Kuma. We have 2 more Don. We're just going to leave it up. I think what I was considering doing that turn is not putting a Don on Crocodile and playing out a blocker for 3. But, Green Zoro, he has ways to rest it. Maybe not the most consistent defensive strategy. Maybe it's just better to keep it in our hand as a counter if need be. And because now, if we use this Crocodile's effect right now, we would have 3 Don, thus playing around Dead Man's Game, especially since he's swinging 12 here. Actually, you know what? Maybe here we don't even need to think about Dead Man's Game because he only has 3 Don up because he put everything on his leader. So this is a good interaction to note here. I'm going to pause here and talk about this. So because I remember this. I was confused. I was like, well, how's he swinging at the body again? Because if you read Zoro's leader effect, it's like you get to restand him if he battled an opponent's character, and then this card cannot attack characters during this turn, but it doesn't just say any characters. It says characters with an original cost of 7 or less. That Crocodile on board is the 8 cost. So if you have an 8 cost or higher body on the board, Zoro will be able to swing into it twice. You got to think about that. Because I know that in this game, I was not thinking about that. I was like, oh, I countered out. I'm safe. He can't hit me again. But he's doing it. So watch out for that if you're playing any deck that runs big bodies like this. Because it's a pretty easy fact to forget that there's that little stipulation in his leader effect. So now I'm like, damn. So now I'm like, this is just gonna have to go. I just kind of wasted those cards in a way. Definitely though, I should use the effect for the card cycle here. Get rid of one of the 9 Lins, because we're probably not going to be able to play that out anytime soon. So yep, that looks like what I'm going to do. And then we're probably just going to let this go. Maybe if I got a 2k, there would have been an argument to counter out here, but I don't see it being justified, me going down 4 cards just to save this body. Oh! Okay, well, me in this game disagrees. I just did that. This goes back to what I was saying earlier, where I was like, oh, despite, or not despite, but in some matchups, you may have to worry about playing a little bit faster, but usually you want to play very slow with this deck. But Green Zoro, no matter how much we heal in this situation, he's going to be threatening our life, because he just gets to restand his leader and he gets to swing for these very large, pretty much uncounterable swings. So we're always pretty much being threatened for game at any moment when we're at like 2 or less life. So you got to be careful. Got to go a little bit faster than you might normally want to go. Looks like here we're going to be pressuring his life because we want to get him down to a position where he's not going to be able to defend and we can just swing in his life. Because if he takes this hit, okay, he is going to use the Dead Man's Game, so there's an argument that we don't need to play around it anymore, but probably still going to here. I'm thinking about playing the 10 cost ace. This would let us swing 9 and then 10 into this Hody Jones. He has 2 Dawn Up, and he has 6 cards in hand, so it's not really guaranteed to go through. But I am in a pretty tight situation here, so that may be a gamble I'm willing to take. You may also be thinking, oh, I'm not going to have any Dawn Up for Come My Way. But remember, the 8 cost Crocodile on opponent's attack, it's going to let me get that Dawn back. So now it is a little bit scary because after doing that, I'm only going to have 1 Dawn. He could play a Deadman game, he could play another Hody if he catches me doing that, but it's very likely not going to happen. So, because once again, you just saw him use a Deadman's Game. He already used a Hody, so just a gamble I'm willing to take. It looks like he is going to get out of the swing here at the Hody Jones. Now I'm faced with the decision of, do I want to go into the Hody Jones with a 9k or do I want to go with his life? I don't think going for his life is the most helpful right now, because now we have enough of a board where, like, even at 2 life, he's pretty threatened here, and we just got 2 cards out of his hand. So we could just really push that resource advantage now, like I've been talking about, and just kind of deplete cards from his hand. Because in this situation, we do have the Kuma. We're going to be able to play the Come My Way very likely, so we're probably going to live here. So yep, definitely going to go like that. We actually get it, which is very lucky of us. He didn't have a 2k to spend on that, because now there's pretty much no way that he kills us this turn. Because we're going to be healing. So wow, he's not even going to play anything. He's going to go all in on this one. We're going to cycle, get that Dawn Up. He's going to be able to restand his leader, and then he's going to be able to restand his leader again. So he's just going to go for it here. He's basically like, okay, now that you got my Hody, I'm kind of screwed. I can't really do what I want to, so I'm just going to try to call your bluff. I'm going to say, hey, you don't have an Come My Way, but little does he know, we have it. We're going to go into the Kuma. We're going to heal, and this is a pretty bad situation for our opponent. He's got 4 cards in hand. We're going to be able to go up to 2 life this next turn. He has nothing on board, so he can't really threaten our life anymore. And this might actually be GG's here. So he's going to take a 7. That means he's definitely going to take this 10. He's going to be at 0 life. We're going to play out an 8 cost Croc. We're going to heal. Now we don't have another Come My Way. Maybe if I had another Come My Way in my hand, I would have played out the 6 cost Kuma. But without it, this is definitely the better play. And yep, our opponent's just going to tap out. He's going to say, yep, I'm at 0 life. I can't do anything. He does have another 3 cost event. And he actually did have a second Deadman's Game. So there's maybe a turn, like 2 or 3 turns earlier where he could have went for a game if he thought about that a little bit more. But I'm not sure. We may have just kind of had that in those situations. And yeah, even with this 3 cost event, don't think he could have pushed for a game there. There's an argument he could have done something with the Peronas on board, but I don't know. He definitely didn't have the Dawn for that. And we did have counter. We did have a Bayesian life, too, after that heal. Wow. So, yeah, there was pretty much no way he could win in that position. That was definitely GG's for us. And, yeah, you saw there, we were at 0 life pretty much the whole game. But when you see heal, when you see Come My Way, and you just see the cards you need in this deck, you can survive even Green Zoro's suffocating offense. I mean, he had us cornered that whole game at 0 life, and then going back and forth from 0 to 1 life, but we were able to pull through in the end. Once again, we just depleted his hand size throughout the game by swinging into his board. We just outlasted him with all our heal, and that's how you're going to take games as Purple Yellow Croc. So now that we're done with all the games, let's revisit the deck list and talk about some adjustments that might need to be made and things to think about going forward. Alright, so we're back on the sim, looking at this list. So things definitely to talk about are how well are these 2 new cards from OP12 doing in the list. Now let me say this Kuma is a godsend for people playing Purple Yellow Croc. This card performed phenomenally. It made our Okomai way more consistent in defending us. It gives us a solid mid-game play for when we're not able to play out our 9-cost Lin or our 8-cost Croc on a 10-Don turn early enough. It has counter, which is always nice to have on a card. It is hard for the opponent to deal with and remove because even if they can remove it, they kind of don't want to because it could heal us. And even if they have some kind of bottom deck removal, this goes up to 8 cost on our opponent's turn for the first turn that we play it. So it can be very hard to deal with, and this card is just extremely powerful generically, and it works phenomenally with the other cards in this deck. So I think this is going to be a staple in pretty much every Purple Yellow Croc list that I build. Unless I do something really like out there and just for like fun. Maybe I won't run this card, but in any deck that's trying to be serious with this leader, you gotta have this card. It's just, I think it's a no-brainer now. Now the other thing is the Searcher. I feel like most Purple Yellow Croc lists run the Searcher, but a lot of them don't, because before OP12 you kind of had to run a lot of like tech cards. I also saw a lot of Purple Yellow Croc players running a lot more life burn. Like, let me pull up this Eustace Captain Kid here. Like this card, when this card came out, people were running this in combination with the 6-cost Nico Robin to kind of go in a more life burn direction instead of a like late game stalling direction, which the list has usually been in. And that deck functioned pretty well, but I think now with these new cards, we just have way more consistent defensive capability that makes this list, I think, the superior version. The other new card to discuss is this one. I'm a little bit split on this card. I think it's a good inclusion, especially if you're running this this package here. Just gives you something to search for in the mid game. But it's definitely a strong effect. It didn't come up too much in the games I play it, but I feel like if I use it a bit more, I'll see more situations where it'll come up. It's inherently a pretty strong effect just when you think about it, just being able to 2k counter for free. I feel like it's a very good utilization of our leader effect, but I don't know. I couldn't see this going up to a 4 of because I don't think this card needs to be a consistent part of our strategy, but it's definitely nice as a 2 or a 3. I think I'm going to keep it as 3 in my deck, but let me know what you guys think. This card's definitely the one I'm the most unsure of on its inclusion in the future. Well, maybe not the most, but like the most like, I don't know if this card is like super strong or like just okay. You know what I mean? So let me know what you guys think. Other card to talk about is this one. This card as a 2 of is not coming up that often, but it can be nice. Just more ramp options, but you know, this card used to get seen a lot more in earlier lists of Purple Yellow Croc, but nowadays I don't see this too often. I've always liked it as just like a 2 of, but there's an argument to go. I don't think there's an argument to go up, actually. No, there's an argument to go up if you want to just go all in on ramping and just make this Searcher way more viable, but I don't know. It's just the fact that this isn't the 1k counter is like very tragic because you really only want to play this in like on like a 5-Don or a 6-Don turn, and occasionally late game you can play it just for the card draw, but that's pretty much if you just have nothing else. I mean, it kind of makes me sad thinking about it because it's like, you know, this card's from set 4. This is an old card, and I feel like if this card came out today, it would have a 1k counter. I mean, the fact that it's a 5-cost 5k body, yes, it has a trigger, but to be honest, the trigger isn't super powerful because it is Don -2. So if you think about it, we get 1 Don back from our leader effect, so you can think of it like a Don -1, and then it's ramping us a Don, so it's free in that way, but I mean, like, you really want to play this card for the ramp. So yeah, you can get a trigger 5k body, but that also draws you a card, but I think I would much prefer if it had, like, no trigger and it just had, like, 1k counter and, like, was a 6k. I feel like if the card came out today, that's probably what they would have made it. I feel like it would be much stronger then, so now it's kind of only a maybe on if it's going to be included in the deck, but I personally like it. I think it comes up enough to justify it as a 2 of, but once again, let me know what you guys think. These 2 cards, not 100% sure how these are going to look in the future versions of the list, but I will say this, if anything, if there's some other card that you want to run in this list, like, this is a completely unrelated card, but Just a card that you'll see in a lot of yellow decks like this one. This does not fill the same slot as this card at all, but it's a card worth running in this list. I would say this is probably the first thing to go in this list if you just want to add any techs or just change up the list a little bit, because it's definitely the most underperforming card in the list. I think maybe the competitor for that spot, though, is this Hiyori. But then again, this is a 2K counter, and I feel like the fact that this can help you get like ramp or card draw consistently early game is covering a very important weakness of this deck, and I think this is definitely worth running. If anything, I know in the past, I've actually ran 3 Hiyori and 3 beige. Because usually when I'm building this list, I think 10 2K counters is a very solid amount. You can go like plus or minus 2 on that really, but I think 10 is a pretty solid amount. So I'll usually do 4 of something searchable with this, usually this one. There's the other Baroque's Works 2K counter, but I think this one's way better. And then I'll go 6 more of just some generic 2K counters. I feel like these are probably the 2 best contenders for that spot. But the really argument is, do you want to go down beige or do you want to go down Hiyori? Right now I have more beige because I think with all the healing this deck is doing, this card is just so strong when you see it. And yeah, it's not consistent because it's only really strong if it's a trigger, but man, this card can just win you games sometimes if you get this at the right time. It's super powerful. So I think having it at 4 just to make it more likely that you can get it in life is worth it over the Hiyori, but there's an argument to go up to 4 this and then go down to 2 beige. And then the last card that I'm a bit iffy about is this 10-cost ace. I say I'm iffy, I mean more so someone looking at this list could be iffy about. Personally, I love this card. I think it's great. There's maybe an argument to go down to a 2 of. Maybe you don't need it at 3, but I don't know. It's either between this card or let me actually... Okay, well, first, we'll talk about this card. This is just another late game. This doesn't fill the same slot, I think, but this is just another late game option that you see people run on this list. This is the 9-cost Yamada. If you're at 1 or less life, this rewards you heavily by giving you a heal and letting you remove something on your opponent's board, which is equal to the total life. Or it lets you remove something on your opponent's board that has cost equal to the life combination of you and your opponent. So you see this run in an L, for example, because he'll just let you stay at like 5 life the whole game. And then he'll play out this, he'll heal, and then he's removing like a 6-cost body on your board. Very strong. A lot of purple yellow crocs run this card. But I like this card more because, number one, this heal, you only get this heal if you're at 1 life. And you're going to be at 1 life a lot on this list, especially if you're taking life very aggressively. But I feel like having the option to just play this out earlier just for the heal is pretty worth it. And this rush is not as good of a control option as just removing something, but it does help you fight for the board, kind of like this does in a way. And my other problem with this card is that, unlike Anel, you don't have a lot of ways to like fill up your opponent's life. You really only have this card. And even so, starving, I feel like, is not as viable of a strategy in this list because you have great survivability when you see some of the right cards like these two, but it's not consistent like Anel's where you can really afford to just not swing into their life the whole game and then win later when they have like 10 life like Anel does sometimes. So I feel like this just doesn't work with the strategy, or at the very least just my play style of this deck, but it's definitely worth considering. If you kind of play more conservatively and you kind of like, you don't swing at their life and you try to starve them out, more similar to how Anel plays, then this is definitely worth considering. But I think, at least for me, I prefer the 10-cost ace. I guess while we're talking about generic top end that this deck can run, I spelled that wrong. I brought up this card before. You just get the Rested, Burn a Life, gives you card cycle, which can be nice in this list because of all the bricks that we run. But I do think this card is worth running, but only if you change the rest of the deck. Because I feel like now, especially with these 2 cards now, we have a pretty consistent strategy going on here where we can't really like afford to put in cards like this that are generically very good, but just don't kind of mesh well with what we're doing. So it's a card to consider for sure, but I think more so for kind of like an alternate version of the list rather than just like a 1-to-1 substitution with like this card, for example. But that being said, those are the cards I'm iffy about. I will say though, these two cards, staple 4 of in every deck, staple 4 of, staple 4 of, staple 4 of, staple 4 of. This card, I don't want to say staple 4 of, because if you're not running the Searcher, this becomes a little bit worse, because there's probably better options. I mean, let me look at some purple 2Ks, because there's maybe an argument for this card, since in the late game, if you're kind of playing out these and then you're using a bunch of other effects like triggers or these two cards, and you're going back and Dawn a lot, that you're going to be behind your opponent in Dawn sometimes, and then this blocker can come in really clutch. But I don't know if I agree with that. And I guess the other one is that I feel like this card just doesn't, generically, once again, great 2K counter, but doesn't really fit with what we're doing. Maybe if you go a more aggressive route, like with the 8 cost Kid, there's an argument for this card, but I don't see it. And then the other thing at the moment is this card. This card's effect kind of sucks, to be honest, but it's searchable by this, so there's an argument for that. But then again, I feel like this is enough just for searchable counter, honestly. Don't really see a reason to run this instead of these two, and definitely not over this card. So I don't know. I feel like the 2K counters are pretty set in stone. These seem to be the ones that work the best, but maybe I'm forgetting something. Once again, as with everything, let me know what you feel about any of my opinions here. I'm definitely interested in seeing where this deck can go in the future and what other cards are worth considering running. But at the moment, I feel like we have a pretty consistent package right now and some pretty good generic options that work very well with our leader, which, to be honest, this leader hasn't seen from quite some time. This deck has been pretty similar with how it's been playing for the past many sets until now, so it's very nice to have some new cards to work with that help the consistency of the deck. Oh, that being said, I want to bring up this card, because this wasn't the only Baroque Works card we got in OP12. No. They gave us this card. So I'm gonna recount the story. I remember waking up in the morning, checking the OP12 leaks. I saw this card. I just saw Missile Sunday. I saw Baroque Works. I was like, oh my gosh, purple yellow Croc support. I was so happy. And then I read the effect, so it's like, okay, KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. Okay, on curve removal, pretty cool. Then your opponent may add a Dawn card from the Dawn deck instead of this active. So you get like an okay removal effect at the cost of ramping your opponent. I mean, to be honest, like, ramping your opponent's not the worst thing in the world, but it's like, I really feel like this effect is not strong enough to even warrant the downside, and it's just like, when would you be playing this? Like if you play this on 4, you're effectively de-ramping yourself because you're going to be behind in Dawn now, and you're maybe removing something. I mean, what are there even like relevant 3 costs in the meta? Like Zoro Joro, if purple Luffy players are still running that, but I don't even know. That's a blocker. I don't know. Like on curve, this is kind of like whatever. And then you can argue, okay, late in the game, the ramp effect doesn't even matter. But we have so much late game. Like, when are we going to be playing this? And then the third thing you can say is, oh, trigger. Yeah, if you get like a trigger in the late game, I guess that could save you. But I mean, like, are we really going to add a card just for the trigger? It's not even that amazing, too. So I don't know. I've heard some people mention this card, but I don't see it. I don't think this is ever going to get added. That's just how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I think this card's pretty bad. But then again, I think I will try to put this in a list just to see how it goes, because I don't want to just dismiss a card without having played with it, because when we do that, we kind of miss out on opportunities that may be very great for improving the deck. So don't want to encourage just immediately dismissing cards. I will try to play with this, but if I had to put money on it, I think this card is probably going to perform terribly and is not going to be added in any serious version of this deck that I do in the future. Alright, that's pretty much all my thoughts on this. If you guys have anything that you think I may have forgotten about, any cards that you're interested in talking about and how they would work with this leader, let me know in the comments. Any questions about the deck, or just anything to say in relation to this discussion we're having about Purple Yellow Croc going into OP12, I'd love to hear it. Leave comments. And also, definitely don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like the video, that is. Subscribe for more. Even if you didn't like this one, I'm going to try to get better. We're going to be making more videos, kind of similar to this, but hopefully I'm just going to get a little bit better at doing this whole thing. So even if you're not interested, I promise you, you're going to be interested in some stuff I'm doing in the future. So that's all I got for today. You guys have a good day.